Hello from me again. My name is, as we're assuming our positions, kindly sit as comfortable as you like. Καθίστε όσο πιο άνετα μπορείτε. And waiting for the slightly more quiet. So the title of this panel again is The Evolving Landscape of Hospital Management. My name is Antonis Fourlis. I'm a journalist, and I will try in this discussion, which is a rather rich one, because we have 7 interlocutors who will be answering questions. I will try to make it useful and to make it as journalistic as I can, that is simple, by revealing that we have advised our speakers. We all know what we'll be talking about. So a discussion for 7 people, to make it interesting and flowing, it needs to have structure and has to be prepared, like everything in health. So the title is From Challenge to Change, the Evolving Landscape of Hospital Management. I would like to welcome the Deputy Minister of Health, Mr. Marios Themistocleou, to my left. Moving on to Mr. Manolis Papasavvas, President of the Marianna Vardinoyannis Children's Oncology Hospital, Elpida. Mr. George Zerdilas, Chief Managing Director with the Athens Medical Center. Mr. Michail Karaviotis, Chairman of the Board of Directors, Papageorgiou General Hospital, Thessaloniki. Ioanna Salagianni, Head of the Directorate of General for Electronic Health in IDIKA. Mr. Daniel Paksy, Managing Director for Greece and Romania, J&J Innovative Medicine. And Mr. Miltos Papadopoulos, CSEE Cluster Market Access Head for Alcon, Hellas. Minister, this heading, since I have got you right next to me, and I want to talk about this evolving landscape, I would like you to introduce us to this by a response to a rather unorthodox question. Do we manage our hospitals today, or do we direct them? Because, well, during the economic and health crisis that we survived, did a lot to management, and have we gone to the next level or not? And I'm asking this because without the RRF, we wouldn't have a bigger picture regarding health in Greece that would be different than what it was in the 10 years. Well, we managed them. Now, a lot of things have changed. You talked about we saved and rescued our hospitals. No, we rescued the country. It wasn't just a problem of the hospitals. The country was bankrupt, it's collapsed, and we rescued the entire country. Moving on to the hospitals, to make a comparison, there was the financial crisis, and then we had the pandemic crisis. We make the comparison between today and the aftermath of the pandemic, because this is when the changes started happening. Before that, due to the pandemic, we couldn't do many things, and no one could do many things if one wanted to be considered serious. Today, hospitals are very different as compared to what they were 2 years ago. We have a system of financial management of the companies. We have the DRGs, of course. It's something that has been discussed. It was voted, was based on political decisions. It is implemented as of the beginning of 2025. And this is a very significant change. The second change is that in 2024, hospitals managed to have budgets in the very first days of January, the tactic that was traditionally inherited from the past. This used to happen in May, so we couldn't perform financial management. The third thing that has changed is that the hospitals in August and September, except for 2 years or 3 years during the financial crisis, were asking approximately 200 to 300 million because they used to spend without any control from the Ministry of Health, from the General Accounting Office, and so we entered the memoranda. This is how we owed 1.5 billion in materials used in hospitals. And last year, and this year as well, as the way we're going, we will close again on budget to a percentage of 99%. The other big change is the choices of governors of hospitals. Okay, they were chosen a few days ago. They were chosen through a process that requires a BA, a master's degree, exams, top 7, shortlist, and then the selection, which has nothing to do with what happened in the past. There are many other things that I can mention that are indicative of what has changed in the hospitals. They're living organisms. It is an effort that didn't start yesterday. There was a circular sent to the hospitals to update the organizational papers, and approximately 70% comes from their establishment. We're talking about organizations that date back 40 years, okay? It's their statutes, okay? That's when the country bought some computers for the first time, and it is based on that. There was some changes in a few hospitals in view of the fiscal limitations that we had back in the day, with changes in these organizations 2012. At the moment, we're updating these hospital organizational charts that will last for quite some time, because this is in combination with the hospital map. It's another thing that was being discussed for a great number of years, and it will start materialize and enter the public debate and become implementable. Because we've had a lot of discussions in this country, now it's time for action. So you made the introduction. I will keep you waiting until the very end to hear what's missing and what we still want more from you. Papageorgiou Hospital, Mr. Karaviotis, represents what I say the third way to health, because there are the donors behind, to whom we owe a big thanks. Because particularly as of late, in the difficult years of the crisis, they saved the day on many occasions. I have a cheat sheet that says that ODP is the one that said, the Papageorgiou Hospital says that the quality is as good as excellent, or it is graded A++. And this made me wonder, to what extent can a hospital make ends meet with such an administration, because this model is neither public nor private. Yes, right. Good afternoon, and thank you for the invitation. The Papageorgiou Hospital is a hybrid one. It's quite different to the public one or a private clinic. We are fully integrated in the national health system, because we have on-call days, but we have greater freedom of financial and administrative authority of power. We can manage and govern the hospital slightly more easily. Well, of course, the hospital, and we've discussed this with the minister as well, the budget thing is, well, the gospel for us. I mean, always at the hospital, the budget must be well balanced. We have never had losses. We were never in the red. But we saw what we can produce as a hospital, what we can render as services without denying them to anyone, because when you're a public hospital, no matter who knocks on your door, you need to treat them. But in the discussions regarding the budget that we make at the end of the year, we have the participation of the clinics as well. So we create the budget after discussing with the clinics what they want, what services they want to render, what the goals are, their aims, their purposes for the next year. And by creating this model, they come in the following year, and every 3 months, we follow their budget in order to see whether we're on track or off track, how we can improve ourselves. So this part is very important to reach that point. And with the DRGs today, we have a clearer picture of the services rendered. This is one. The second part is the qualitative follow-up of the hospitals. The ODP has rated us on the basis of the hospitals they have checked as to the highest level one. So we rate top. And we have a part that well, first of all, many a clinic has been certified, and our goal is to have them all certified. So by monitoring with internal inspectors, without going after the clinics and telling them what they need to do in terms of certification, we follow them up. And we try to have this a patient-centric hospital in order to be able to improve the services rendered to the patients. So quality for us is at the maximum of our goals, of our achievements as a hospital towards the patients. You make it sound very happy and very good for Mr. Themistocleous that you follow the budget of the book, it's a gospel and so on and so forth. A question. Now, the problems suffered by the public hospitals that are shared by the private hospitals, one of them, which is a key problem, is, for instance, the nursing staff. Another problem is that in the region outside of Athens, hospitals are trying to find doctors, and it's not easy. Is it for you as well? Well, we do share the same problem in terms of nursing staff. It's not just the country, it's the whole of Europe that shares the same problem. Now, the nursing profession is very difficult, it's very demanding, and today there's not a lot of people who want to do that, to make a living. Now, we work with the IDIKA in Thessaloniki as a hospital, so we try to receive some nursing staff from there, and they do the training, they do the practical training at our hospital, and when they finish their studies, we can absorb them, can utilize them there. Now, in terms of medical staff, of doctors, I'd say that we have the least of problems as compared to the other hospitals. I mean, there is no way that when we advertise for a position not to fill it, because it's a hospital that is much coveted by everyone in northern Greece. Everyone wants to work there, because we have a big training part that we support both the doctors and the nurses. We have training programs that run the year round at the hospital. Mr. Papasavvas, your hospital as well, the Children's Oncology Hospital Elpida, is a model, it's a standard for us. It was created out of the generosity and the support of a donor, Marianna Vardinoyannis, to help all children. It's something that we all feel, because it's the most vulnerable and sensitive time of their lives for everyone, children. Now, we know that you make small miracles happen on a daily basis, perhaps. Kindly describe how the hospital works from within, and to learn how this beautiful picture we've painted in our minds, what shortcomings and in what regions it's lacking. Good morning, and thank you very much for the invitation. Yes, the Oncology Hospital was a donation of the late Marianna Vardinoyannis. It started operating in 2010. It was a landmark in the treatment of children's cancer in our country, and in summary, I can say that there is no waiting time. If a child is diagnosed with cancer, it will be admitted to hospital immediately, regardless of whether they're insured or not, if it's a child of a refugee or an immigrant. All their expenses are covered by the Ministry of Health. It is included in the national health system. We have the only bone marrow transplantation unit in our country, either in the public or the private sector, for children and adolescents. And we have the first cell and gene therapy center where conventional treatments fail and cannot have a result. We come here with precision medicine so as to modify the genes in the cells to give a new chance to the child. We have approximately 25 such treatments administered. If we didn't have the center, the grafts, we need to go abroad. There was an expense of approximately 350,000 euros per patient. The cost for us is approximately 30,000 euros when we do it in-house. In 2023, the unit that was included in the Hagia Sophia became a private person entity, in order to be able to offer even more high-quality services, once again included and by 100% and funded by the Ministry of Health. There are problems, there are shortcomings. Our biggest lack is in nursing staff. It's not for our own hospital, it's all hospitals in the country, and it's a pan-European problem. This is primarily a problem regarding the doctors or their medical devices. We're really well. We definitely need and would like some enhancement, but the nursing staff is the problem. Now, the state has been investing in and using the RRF, reviewing and renewing and remodeling hospitals and the TEP and all these things. Is it because of the crisis or our mentality in Greece that we tend to overlook maintenance even of hospitals. And how do you make that happen? We know that you're a good example to follow. How do you make it happen? Now, this Children's Oncology Hospital is a new hospital. It's been around for 15 years, so we have good buildings. What I can say from my previous tenure as director of the Kyriakou Hospital, these were buildings erected back in the 1960s. Old infrastructures in terms of electricity, plumbing, the rooms didn't have toilets. During the crisis, when Mr. Georgiadis was minister in 2013, the OPAP gave a donation to renovate the 2 children's wards. It has been completed. These are modern rooms with modern infrastructure, and the RRF has been used to have the emergency room. It was completed now. They go to Kyriakou. So the mentality and the psyche of the people working in the hospital changes, be they doctors or nurses. It also changes the mentality of the children and the people who accompany them. Do the children, the patients, protect the environment? Yes, we have multi-rooms for the children. It's very pleasant, it's colorful. We have created groups so that we can keep them occupied. We have a school inside the hospital. As weird as this may sound, there is a school because the children who have some malignancy, their stay in the hospital is something like 6 to 7 months. So we try as best as we can for these children to have some semblance of a normal life. So the Ministry of Education has sent us teachers. We have from kindergarten up to and including high school. Regarding the maintenance cost, it's much higher cost to maintain old and antiquated buildings and old equipment rather than having renewed them as well as the buildings. So you spend less money to maintain newer buildings and renovated buildings. So the budget of each hospital has a specific item that has to do with the maintenance, either the buildings or the medical devices. Now, we do understand that it's more expensive to pay for something that has been neglected, which is why not even RRF money isn't enough. Mr. George Zerdilas, this is time for hard rock because, well, the expenses paid or required for someone to be hospitalized is very high. And we consider that one way or another, in our mind, there is super profits in health. I mean, the doctors receive high fees, there are private hospitals with very high price lists. Are there super benefits and super profits for you, for instance? Well, obviously not in the sense that you describe them. What I want to say is describe the static picture in which our branch is today. Problems that were mentioned earlier are problems shared by the private and the public sector. So we both struggle and strive for the same goal. So I want me to give you our perspective and say how difficult it is for one to meet the challenges that are out there in the health sector. Like any other business, we have let's call it raw materials, let's call them. We have the health material, we have the medical devices, we have buildings. We are in health services, we have a lot of staff. We at the group, we have more than 3,500 people working for us permanently, which means that the fees is a tremendous expenditure for us on a daily basis. We have energy costs. We work 24/7, 365 days per year. We're open always, and we strive at offering high-quality health services. On the flip side, we have the recipients of the health services, who can be private parties with all the problems of those who pay out of pocket. We have the AOP with the problems we all know of the rebates and clawback. There have been many initiatives to improve the situation in this part, but it still exists. there are tweaks that are in the right direction, but it hasn't been resolved yet. And we still have the insured parties through insurance companies. And there we have other problems, and I believe that there is another panel that will discuss them later, representatives of insurance companies to discuss that. Now, regarding the cost, in terms of management, we can only see it going up. For instance, fees or wages. The wages that are constantly being inflated, and the government has already said that it will keep on rising, and it's very good that they will do that to combat these high expenses. So an average cost, which is also increasing, we're now at 1,200 euros. The goal is for 1,500 euros, and this for a health service sector company is a very high cost on the budget and the balance sheet. Regarding equipment, if you want to offer high quality services, you need to be in the first line, and you need to be state of the art. In the past, you could have a CT machine or an MRI machine, keep it for years or decades. This is no longer the case. Updating these machines is much more frequent because we have much more technology incorporated in the newer models. There is much more specificity, so there's a lot more machines and equipment, pieces of equipment for doctors to perform their medicine. Now, buildings, if you have any idea of how much construction costs have increased, can imagine what happens with hospitals. Food, the cost of food for people who are hospitalized, the cost of energy. So all these costs and the increase in costs that we see every day must, in some way, be dealt with internally in terms of management and administration in order to have a final product that cannot be constantly increasing in price. Okay, we can't keep upping the price. A lot of these expenses are absorbed internally, so there is no surprofit, super profit, or whatever. There's a very difficult management and administration, and you heard about the problems we all have regarding nursing staff. It's very difficult for the private sector to attract nurses, so very good management must be performed. The digital solutions are something that could unlock better management and efficiency. Be that as it may, the problems are there and they're there to stay. Now, we'll put a pin on that, and it was very intense that you are under pressure from everywhere, financial pressure. This tool that is called the RRF, that is beneficial if you're a minister or a ministry, and if you have a public hospital, does that mean nothing for you? Don't you receive something as a private entity? Well, in the private sector, the RRF, at least in terms of the health sector, comes primarily through lower cost of loans. Only loans? No direct support for anything? No, it's just loans. There is no subsidy through the RRF for the private sector. So indeed, someone, for an investment they want to do in the private sector of health, one may be entitled, under some conditions, a very low interest rates loan that allows them to drop the interest cost of the investment. The rest of the loan will be covered normally by one of the systemic banks, and the end of the investment will come from own capitals. So it is a tool that helps in the sense that it drops the cost of loans, but it's not the solution. And another thing, if I may, that regarding the development law, the 8610 code item line there was always off. So we never received anything from the developmental legislation. We never had eligible expenses. So whatever happens as an investment, and this is what we're trying to do in the Iatrikos group, happens out of our own pocket. Now, IDIKA, Mrs. Salagianni, is the digital pillar of health in Greece, and it is an indubitably important part. We see hospitals being built, renovated, or the TEP to be refreshed and repainted or rebuilt. What changes for you in terms of digital services?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation. a lot of things change. Even in the field of hospitals, the projects that we are currently implementing for hospitals are legion. The hospitals constitute the main source of data of the electronic health file, which is, as it was said previously, the central point where all health data are collected from all the different systems of the country, primary, secondary, and so forth. Through the interoperability and through the use of codification and international and European standards, we managed to do that, having what as objective? The doctor in the hospital, and once the patient arrives, to be able to have access to the patient's history. Not just the history in that specific hospital, but the history that the patient has in any hospital in the country, the diagnostic tests, any allergies they may have, prescriptions, and so forth. The utmost objective of ours is to have a paperless hospital, a smart hospital. Now, how can we achieve that? Right now, thanks to the help of the RRF, we are running very important projects that will radically change the landscape of hospitals. A very important project that we are running is the project for the establishment of the evaluation and monitoring framework for the preparedness of hospitals. What does this project do? It uses international methodologies in order to assess hospitals, record their current state, see what they are lacking so that all the hospitals will eventually reach the same level, digitally speaking. And then there is the other project, the so-called digital preparedness, in the context of which every hospital out of the 128 ensures the digital upgrading. What does this mean? It means that all applications are upgraded, the IT systems of each hospital is upgraded in order to be interoperable with the electronic health file, and the different infrastructure is also upgraded, the different networks of the hospitals, that is. I would like to mention another very important project, that is the integrated IT system of oncological and hematology patients. Through this project, and for the very first time in our country, we now have the National Registry of patients with neoplasma diseases. And this is very important because along with the registry of children's cancer, now we have a registry for all patients with neoplasias. It is the IT system for the 12 oncology hospitals, as it was mentioned previously, through which we record the treatment, the different schemes of treatment, always in accordance with the therapeutic protocols as they are approved by the Ministry of Health. There is a tool that provides aid to patients. There is also support provided to the scientific teams and oncology councils, and of course there is a possibility for data analysis with the use of AI, and also the possibility to use the wealth of all this data. Apart from all these actions, there are some horizontal ones that are being implemented in our hospitals. These are actions that have to do with the management and monitoring of drugs. These are actions that have to do with the TEPs, the well-known bracelets. I believe that we are all aware of these bracelets. They have to do with the management of the medical devices of hospitals and actions pertaining to bodies that are supervised by the Ministry of Health, like IPE, EKAPI, EOF, and EKAV. This is our contribution to the field. Okay, I kept note of what you said about the importance of having one single point of data collection. I understand that this can be very useful. We heard previously how important it is for a doctor to have the history of the patient. Anything else Anything new that you will do with my data? Yes, with such a wealth of data, we can make statistical analysis by using modern tools like AI. We already use BI, machine learning. And we use all these in order to assist the state, the ministry, and the management of the hospitals in the decision-making process, in the development of policies. Moreover, these same tools and applications can be used for research purposes. This was mentioned in a previous session. These are tools and data that can also be used in the clinical trials. An example about machine learning. We could check the number of visits of children and adolescents and plan the need for specialized doctors for the coming years. I'm talking about specific specialties that need to be present in hospitals. And there are several different uses of these tools. Thank you very much. Κύριε Paksy, εκπροσωπείτε τη Johnson & Johnson και επίσης εκπροσωπείτε κατά κάποιο τρόπο την φαρμακευτική καινοτομία σε αυτό το πάνελ. Καταλαβαίνουμε ότι είσαστε ένας βασικός παίκτης του συστήματος. Έχετε όμως κάτι να προσφέρετε από πλευρά σας στη διοίκηση των νοσοκομείων και στην κατεύθυνση βελτίωσης του όλου συστήματος. Καλησπέρα σας. Σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ που μου δίνετε την ευκαιρία να μοιραστώ την άποψή μου για το θέμα. Η Johnson & Johnson είναι η μεγαλύτερη εταιρεία του τομέα υγείας από την άποψη εσόδων αλλά και επενδύσεων στην έρευνα και την ανάπτυξη. Πέρσι επενδύσαμε πάνω από 17 εκατομμύρια δολαρίων που αντιστοιχεί στο 24% των συνολικών εσόδων. Μια φαρμακευτική εταιρεία μπορεί να προσφέρει καινοτομία στα νοσοκομεία και ένας από τους τρόπους είναι οι κλινικές μελέτες. Οι κλινικές μελέτες επιτρέπουν έγκαιρη πρόσβαση σε καινοτόμες θεραπείες, την απόκτηση σημαντικής εμπειρίας και επίσης μειώνουν λίγο το βάρος στον προϋπολογισμό των νοσοκομείων. Εμείς στην Ελλάδα έχουμε στενή συνεργασία με διάφορα εργαστήρια στο πλαίσιο 20 κλινικών μελετών και έχουμε πάρα πολλούς εμπειρογνώμονες που εργάζονται εκεί έξω στο πεδίο. Αυτό που μπορούμε να δούμε όλοι είναι ότι ο κόσμος αλλάζει ραγδαία και ότι ο ανταγωνισμός για τις επενδύσεις στις κλινικές μελέτες γίνεται ολοένα και πιο έντονος. Η ταχεία άνοδος αγορών όπως είναι η Κίνα και η Ινδία, αλλά και λατινικών χωρών που από ιστορικής απόψεως δεν είχαν τόσες πολλές κλινικές μελέτες, περιορίζει την δυνατότητα δραστηριότητάς μας σε αυτές τις αγορές. Οπότε, από την μία πλευρά, στο ευρωπαϊκό επίπεδο, αντιμαχόμαστε, αλλά από την άλλη διαφοροποιούμαστε περαιτέρω, κυρίως στην Ελλάδα, μέσα σε αυτό το ευρωπαϊκό τοπίο. Εμείς είμαστε υπέρ αυτού του νομοθετικού πλαισίου για τις κλινικές μελέτες, αλλά υπάρχουν και κάποιες περιοχές που θα μπορούσαμε να βελτιώσουμε, ώστε να προσελκύσουμε επενδύσεις στις κλινικές μελέτες. Το clawback θα μπορούσε να μειωθεί από το 25% σε λιγότερο από 15% για όλη τη διάρκεια των κλινικών μελετών. Και επίσης κάτι άλλο που θα μπορούσαμε να κάνουμε είναι να επιταχύνουμε την διαδικασία συμβασιοποίησης. Αυτό θα ήταν προς τη σωστή κατεύθυνση. Εξούσου σημαντικό και έχουμε ήδη μιλήσει γι' αυτό είναι το Ταμείο Καινοτομίας που ανακοινώθηκε από τον Υπουργό και που αντιστοιχεί σε ένα ποσό 50 εκατομμυρίων σε επενδύσεις. Αυτό δείχνει ότι υπάρχει η δέσμευση στην Ελλάδα να προάγει την καινοτομία. Η καινοτομία στην προκειμένη περίπτωση σημαίνει μετασχηματιστικές θεραπείες, γονιδιακές θεραπείες και άλλες, που βεβαίως θα απαιτούν πολύ σημαντική προετοιμασία, εξειδικευμένη κατάρτιση και εκπαίδευση του υγειονομικού προσωπικού, ανάπτυξη δυνατοτήτων για θεραπείες όπως το CAR-T, καθώς και μητρέα που θα μας επιτρέπουν να παρακολουθούμε τα πραγματικά αποτελέσματα, τις πραγματικές εκβάσεις. Τα CAR-T είναι μία άπαξ θεραπεία, δηλαδή όταν ολοκληρώσει τη θεραπεία ο ασθενής, αυτό είναι. Και αυτές οι θεραπείες μπορούν να δώσουν συγκλονιστικές εκβάσεις. Το γεγονός ότι είναι μια θεραπεία που γίνεται μία φορά σημαίνει ότι μπορεί να εξοικονομήσει για τον προϋπολογισμό της κυβέρνησης. Αυτές οι θεραπείες δεν θα πρέπει να είναι συνδεδεμένες με τον μηχανισμό κλόμπα. Αντιθέτως, θα πρέπει να ανταμείβονται βάσει των πραγματικών ωφελών που προσφέρουν στους ασθενείς αλλά και στα νοσοκομεία. Η φαρμακευτική καινοτομία είναι πράγματι ένας από τους βασικούς παράγοντες βελτίωσης της διαχείρισης των νοσοκομείων. Υπάρχουν κάποια άλλα στοιχεία, κάποιες άλλες ιδέες που εσείς θεωρείτε σημαντικές. Όχι μόνο για την πρόοδο, αλλά για τη βιώσιμη πρόοδο σε αυτό το οικοσύστημα των νοσοκομείων. Μιλήσαμε για τις κλινικές μελέτες, τις μετασχηματιστικές θεραπείες και το Ταμείο Καινοτομίας. Αλλά υπάρχουν και άλλοι δύο παράγοντες που θα μπορούσαν να επιφέρουν σημαντική αλλαγή. Πρώτα απ' όλα, έχουμε τη σωστή υποδομή σε λειτουργία. Έχει γίνει σημαντική πρόοδος στην Ελλάδα μέσω της εφαρμογής Michail Karaviotis, μέσω άλλων εφαρμογών, μέσω του εξυγχρονισμού των νοσοκομιακών εγκαταστάσεων. Αλλά θα πρέπει να σκεφτούμε, έχουμε τα σωστά διαλειτουργικά συστήματα που συνδέουν όλα τα νοσοκομεία. Έχουμε υψηλής ποιότητας μητρώα, ούτως ώστε να μπορούμε να υποστηρίξουμε συμφωνίες επί τη βάση αποδόσεων αυτών των θεραπείων. Θα ήταν επίσης πάρα πολύ σημαντικό να έχουμε το σωστό πλαίσιο διακυβέρνησης που θα προάγει την εμπιστοσύνη και την διαφάνεια. Ένας άλλος σημαντικός παράγοντας είναι οι εταιρικές σχέσεις. Υπήρχε μία πρωτοβουλία που ελήφθη στο παρελθόν που μείωσε το βάρος στα νοσοκομεία. Ουσιαστικά ήταν μια πρωτοβουλία που διασφάλιζε τη συνεργασία μεταξύ των νοσοκομείων. Πιστεύω λοιπόν ότι αν μπορέσουμε να συστήσουμε μια ομάδα εργασίας προς αυτήν την κατεύθυνση, ούτως ώστε να χρησιμοποιήσει σωστά το Ταμείο Καινοτομίας, θα πετύχουμε σημαντικά αποτελέσματα. Mr. Papadopoulos, we will close this round with you. And we will talk about innovation because we want to see what the future holds for innovation and for hospitals. The medical devices is a very important issue, and you are working on that. Medical devices, medical equipment is of high importance for hospitals, but at the same time is very expensive. We talk about a modern health system in Greece. We also understand the need for such investment. But if we make that investment every time in order to equip the hospital in a country where the resources are finite and in a country where needs are increasing, then there will be more needs in the future. So the question is, can we possibly do something differently, do something more in terms of the medical equipment? Good afternoon, and thank you for the invitation. Undoubtedly, the cost of medical equipment is very high, but cost is always associated with value. So the final price has to do with the value of each product. Right now, the management of hospitals is going through major transformation. And this transformation is the result of the increasing needs of patients, increased requirements. It's the result of the limited resources. All of these factors require the hospitals to come up with innovative solutions. And of course, at the center of these innovative solutions are the medical devices, which do not just support the operation of hospitals, but they can constitute a strategic lever in order to ensure quality, safety, and also sustainability of the system. It is important for us to understand that the medical devices and the medical equipment in general are devices, equipment, software, all of which are used for the diagnosis, follow-up, treatment, and rehabilitation of patients. So they cover several different dimensions in the hospitals and in the system in general. So taking into account all the changes that have been made, taking into account the DRGs and the financing of the hospitals that is now based on performance, there is the following risk. When we try to increase the productivity and performance on the basis of DRG, we may compromise the safety of patients. And that is why come the quality criteria that ensure that the system operates in the right direction. These type of criteria are the safety of patients, the efficiency, the performance, and of course, the medical devices play a decisive role in the effectiveness of the system. Moreover, with the digital transformation, we now have the possibility to collect data in real time, which can actually feed the system of health and the DRGs and all the decisions that are taken on the basis of real data. Can this ensure any savings? Yes. When there is an increase in effectiveness. For example, if you reduce the duration of hospitalization, or the number of deaths, or the time of recovery, then obviously there can be a reduction of the cost and also in greater effectiveness. What I would like to say is that the medical devices are not a luxury, they are a necessity for hospitals. And they can operate as a strategic pillar that will ensure quality, safety, but also the sustainability of the system itself, always with the patient in the center of everything. Okay, you convinced me that I need to purchase it. Then, what do I need to do? Do I need to pay and train the nurse and the doctor in order for them to know how to use it? Look, the most important factor in the health system are the people. And no medical device could bring about any result without the proper training of the people using it. So, something that we need to invest in is the training of the doctors and of the nurses. The companies in our sector train the health professionals and the subsidiary staff on their own initiative. What would be even greater would be a closer collaboration with the different bodies and with the government so that we can develop some common training sessions and to invest in what we call people.
Right, Minister, this is a multitasking thing, and I would like to summarize everything to draw a conclusion. So we are at a situation where you're walking a very fine line. You're treading very lightly. Okay, I do understand the RRF, and thank God for the RRF, as a matter of fact. But you must manage at the same time not only the management and the administration of the hospitals, which you do, but also the transition to another situation of much higher services, because this is what the people want, which is probably the top problem and the top good that we'll be asking the governments to deliver in the decades to come. And this must happen through data, technology, and things that we don't have all in our hands in Greek hospitals. Is it doable? Can you make it happen? Well, these are rather grim questions and rather pessimistic, aren't they? Yes, of course. I mean, I heard very attentively this discussion, and health, and this is not a political advertisement, okay? Hospitals have nothing to do with what they used to be. It's not just through donations and through the RRF. Hospitals at the moment have 74% more money. It's the additional 3 billion. I mean, even a hospital with a donation has an annual budget of 50, 60 million, 70 million, or something like that. These are national resources, the Ministry of Finance. Okay, we are presenting a system that is based on donations. Well, donations are a very important tool, and I happen to manage very large donations. It's exceptionally important, as is in all healthcare systems all over the world. We're not reinventing the wheel, you know. In England, it's at 10% of the annual budget. It comes from donations, and this is approximately what happens to us. Maybe slightly more because the Niarchos Foundation founded 3 hospitals, but there's a huge increase in investment. The country is in an environment, a hospital environment, that's very difficult, in a country that does not change very easily, okay? There is huge resistance to change. The employment relationships of doctors have changed. There's things that happen and that are totally different. Okay, no one could realize that we would allow the NHS doctors to work privately or to conclude contracts and work with their entire team. This thing changes, okay? Maybe it's through the RRF money or anything that we didn't have before. I mean, you can pick up your smartphone and see the tests and the medical tests that you had the past 6-7 months. It's a health record. The hospital personnel is the most we've ever had from the day we have recorded data. From 2009, when they said, do a census to know who you are, and it was the Troika who said that. It was the institutions. So it was the top of the national healthcare system. We have more staff than we used to have back then. It's not all dark, it's not all grim, it's not all black and white, there's grey areas. One of the most important problems is infrastructures. The country went bankrupt. It was 10 years before the hospitals had any money. There is 3 billion for maintenance, but there were several years during which no maintenance was undertaken because the priority was for surgeries, was for patients and for drugs. This is backfiring now. It has been backfiring for a great number of years, but still, if there's buildings that haven't been renovated for 30 years, you can't go in an 8-people ward and say that I'm happy from my hospitalization. I mean, I can talk for as long as that timer goes, okay? Will you fight the battle for nurses? Yes, I'll get to that, but it's very important. It's the evaluation and assessment, okay, because we have this environment, we have this context that says that they're not organized or anything. We have the governors of hospitals here from private entities, okay? I mean, we have the 3 new hospitals of the Niarchos Foundation that are private ones. The public ones, based on the change of legislation that we made, is almost the same as a private one. Publics and private, they can hire doctors with invoices, or 2 hours per week, 4 hours per week, 10 hours per week. There is no system that is more flexible. They can hire a crew to run the accounting office, okay? We didn't have that 3 or 4 years ago. So the battle for nursing staff, yes, okay, there we're lagging behind. We have more doctors than we do nurses that we need. It is a pan-European problem. It was mentioned by many people. It was mentioned by the private sector. And the private sector can increase wages, okay? Salaries. Do we? Yes, well, it's an obligation, and we do that. But there is also great difficulty in doing that, okay? Malta, and I'm using Malta as an example, imports nurses from an Asian country that don't even speak Maltese. This is a problem that, well, we will give incentives, okay, because with the nursing, regarding the nursing staff, there have been some incentives. It's one of the biggest problems, and although we are developing departments, we don't have staff sufficiency. Okay, not everything is rosy and peachy, but the direction is definitely positive. It takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of perseverance. We need to be methodical in what we do, and we will. And you're not a pessimistic, okay, I'm joking, but if we look at the facts coldly, we're better off than we used to be, and there's a plan on what to do in the years to come. It will not happen tomorrow. It will take at least 2 years to do some things and another 2 for them to bear fruit, to become better than the average in radiotherapy. It'll take, for instance, 5 years to add oncological beds. I'm saying this because it doesn't sound pretty politically, saying that we'll do this in 5 years or in 6 years, but it's the truth, it's the reality, and there's a plan that says where we are, where we want to go, and more importantly, how, with any problems that we might have there. Yes, well, I do find this optimistic, really. And if I were to add something as a journalist in closing, it would be good for all of us up here and down there, all the players, all the stakeholders, whatever we do, to share with the others, and to know what the end goal is and to have a common end goal so that we can all contribute to it. Thank you all so very much for participation. Mr. Kikilis, thank you very much. And we'd like to thank the AmCham primarily for giving us the opportunity to have a serious discussion, open discussion, fruitful discussion, and all such chances are very valuable. Thank you very much, one and all.